capped or uncapped. Tax sharing arrangements are less likely to include revenue caps. A rise in revenues from a shared source means a rise in the tax share to all governments. Fiscal cash transfers are more likely to include caps. They could be specified amounts or amounts based on some measure of need or expense. It is possible to have tax sharing that's conditional, discretionary, and capped. And the boundaries between tax sharing and direct transfers can blur. For instance, in the United States, the federal excise tax on gasoline is reserved for sharing with the states for the interstate highway system. However, this is done through conditional cash transfers, not tax sharing. Canada does something similar. The federal government provides gasoline excise tax revenues to municipalities through cash transfers to the provincial governments.
A number of federal countries use tax sharing and transfers as a means for creating greater equality between richer and poorer constituent units. This is called equalization.
Some equalization programs reduce the unequal capacity among constituent units to raise revenues. Others try to address the financial needs of the constituent units. Some bring all constituent units to the same level. Others only bring them to within a broad range. And some equalize only the poorer constituent units up to a certain level. All equalization programs take the form of unconditional transfers. The federal government gives the money to the constituent units without telling them how they should spend it.
In our final module of the video, learning about fiscal federalism, we examined the question, how do federal countries collect revenues and manage transfers? And as we did for the other modules, here is a quiz to help you answer that question. 1. Own source revenues and shared revenues are not two types of revenue sources. Is this statement true or false? Statement number 1 is false. Both own source and shared are types of revenue sources. 2. Own source revenue is revenue that each order of government collects through taxes or fees. Is this statement true or false? Statement number 2 is true. 3. Shared revenue is revenue that is under the control of the federal government and distributed by formula to other governments. Is this statement true or false? Statement number 3 is true. 4. Which of the following are major sources of tax revenue? A. Personal income tax. B. Corporate income tax. C. Sales tax. D. Royalties on natural resources. E. All of the above. The answer to question 4 is E. All of the above. All of the taxes listed are major sources of revenue. 5. Federal governments share money with constituent units in 2 ways, through fiscal transfers and tax sharing. Is this statement true or false? The answer to this statement is true. Fiscal transfers and tax sharing are ways in which the federal government shares with the constituent units. 6. There are both formula and discretionary transfers. Which of the following are formula transfers and which are discretionary transfers? A. Tax sharing, and B. Fiscal transfers. The answer to question number 6 is tax sharing is usually done by established formula, and fiscal transfers are frequently discretionary. 7. Equalization is a form of unconditional transfer used by some federations to reduce or to eliminate the unequal capacity of constituent units. Is this statement true or false? The answer to question 7 is true. Equalization transfers are used to reduce or eliminate the unequal capacity of constituent units, and they are normally unconditional. We don't claim that this examination of fiscal federalism is exhaustive. The subject, after all, is vast and quite complex. Among the subjects for which we do not have time here are government borrowing and economic management. For those interested in learning more about fiscal federalism, we recommend the book, Fiscal Federalism, A Comparative Introduction by George Anderson. Much of this video is based on that book. One important fact we must bear in mind is that very few federations start with a theoretical fiscal framework and then apply it in practice. There are many cultural, historic, and political reasons for federal countries' fiscal choices. Perhaps the greatest value in learning about this subject is that it allows us to discover the range of options that exist. Federal countries have chosen to organize their fiscal arrangements in a great number of different ways. None believe that they have found perfect solutions, and almost all are still seeking ways to improve their fiscal governance. Examining what other countries have chosen to do can be very helpful in that vital and necessary exercise.